Sup, tabletop fans, it's Heretic here, and I'm shooting a different type of video today. We are gonna take a look at a particular action that has stirred some controversy on the Dystopian forums. And this is going to be the art of boarding. That is, boarding an enemy vessel and taking it hostage. Now, there's some pros and cons to this. There's a lot to consider before doing such an action, and we're gonna take a look at probably like some of the main questions you need to ask yourself before you do such an action. So first of all, boarding is, like I said, the act of sending Marines from your boat to the enemy's boat. I apologize, I don't have another faction to distinguish. It looks like Prussians are doing some sort of tactical exercise here, which would actually work in this type of setting since we're talking about boarding in theory. Now, when it comes to boarding, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, you know, either if you play Empire of the Blazing Suns, you've got these flying like samurai guys. Prussians have these really cool jetpack guys with lances, and so you know you have to be within 4 inches to perform this action. So you got to be in pretty close, and I would compare it a lot like hand-to-hand combat in 40K, except, well, they're similar in that both players normally are going to roll dice at the same time, but as far as, I think that's about it, and you have to get in close like you would in 40K, but there's other than that, there's a lot of differences, and we'll kind of go over these. Couple questions to ask before you board. You know, what are the risks? What are the gains? If I'm successful, am I going to defend? Which means, you know, I'm going to leave people on board to defend my captured vessel. How many to send back? Those are pretty much your basic questions you want to ask yourself, even before you perform. You want to do that before you declare it as an action. I will say this: boarding is it's not a strategy per se. I mean, you're not just gonna board every vessel you can. There's a lot of repercussions for doing something like that. It's mainly a tool, something that could help you, like the guns on your ship. So let's take a look at scenario 1. Here we have kind of like a one-on-one type deal going. Now, with boarding in mind, what I could do is link fire with these 2 frigates here on this frigate, and go full dice here on that frigate, and then board. That could be, and I've seen a lot of people do this. So what is the risk? The risk is, you know, that there's not a lot of AP on these ships. Prussians have more AP than the other factions right now, but it's not a great advantage. You're maybe looking at a 1, maybe 2 point AP advantage, and in this situation we are dead even because we are both Prussians and we are both frigates. So frigates by themselves have low AP. Prussian frigates have slightly more AP than other frigates, but overall it's a low number. I get 3 guys on each ship, and that's I could send 9 over. Another strategy would be to to go split fire, where every squad here is gonna fire at its own target and go full AD, which would be at range band 1, and go 6 dice, and whatever survives we board and take over. So what's the gain of this action? Well, the gain is pretty simple. In this type of scenario, we're looking at gaining an activation advantage in the next turn. If you could take an entire squad with one squad, you're getting a net gain of not just the points, but you're getting a bonus activation because the guy is down 1. And if you're playing with cards, it could be losing cards at this point, So this is a it's worth the gain, but you have to see what the dice come out. So let's do this. I'm going to try a 2-1 setup here, where these 2 boats will link up, and then that will fire separately, and we'll see what's left and see whether or not we should board. So I'm declaring this as the primary boat frigate. He's going to get 6, and when you link the fire with the other guy, the other guy is going to take his 6 attack dice, cut those in half, and add it to the dice pool. So I'm going to get 3 more. And I'm also going to declare this shot here, and that guy's going to get oh, I don't have enough dice. Let me get some more. He's going to get 3, 6. I'm sorry, 6. Okay, so let's just quickly resolve this one here. Ooh, this was a pretty good roll. So when you fire, 4-ups are going to hit. So there's 4 hits. 6 is going to count as 2 hits. So that's 6 right there. And a reroll. 6 anyways is enough to crit that first guy. He's down. So, pretty good. Let's take the other guy's dice. His shot is going to yield out 6. And he does 3 successful hits, and that would be 1 wound. So, given this situation, your goal was to try to wipe out an entire activation of your opponent. And what you did was basically you killed one, wounded another, and you're forcing a leadership check. So you didn't set out what we didn't do what we were supposed to, or tried to do. And I would, at this point, not board. Because he's got 6 AP, I have 9. And when you do a boarding action, he's going to get, AP. Generally, a good practice is to send twice as much AP as your opponent. That way, you can capture the ship on the first go and return your guys back to their boat, because it's important to know that you only have one chance at returning to your ship. And why this is so dangerous is, let's say I sent out 9 guys, and you can divide the borders up however you want. So let's say I sent out 9, so there's 5 going here and then 4 going here. It gives me a slight advantage, but not much, because remember, he gets to roll his anti-aircraft as I try to board, and then like 40k, the damage is dealt out simultaneously. So I could end up with no boarders left, and all these ships would be vulnerable to counterboarding, and that would be an easy go. Say just one frigate comes by, and he's got 3 guys. He sends 1 guy on each, and let's say the the ACAC fails. The defensive ACAC would fail. This one frigate theoretically it just scored, 150 points, because you get double points for capturing. That is the risk involved, and that's something to be considered. So let's go ahead and look at another scenario. Let me set it up real quick. I'm gonna put this on. Okay, and we're back. So here we are at scenario 2. Scenario 2 is a little different. This would be probably towards the end of the game. We've got a very badly damaged battleship. It's on fire, and its defenses are shredded. Also, it's on its last wound, and it's lost some AP. So we're going to assume that we just finished firing with these 3 frigates, and they had added to the damage. Maybe they did a crit or something, or put a wound on it. The question is, do you board? Well, to me, this is a no-brainer. What is the risk? The risk is, potentially losing your AP on your frigates and being susceptible to counterboarding on the next activation. But what is the gain? The gain is not only is his Commodore on that battleship, that battleship will be worth double its points. So 170 points. I'm getting 340 from that. That is a excellent trade-off. Also note that he has sustained damage. He's got 2 AP left, and he doesn't have any ACAC, so easy no-brainer. I would do it. I would send probably all the guys on. So I'd send 12 dudes for the initial attack. He has 2 left. He rolls. He kills one of my guys, and that counts as 2 hits. So right there, that's nothing, but total 4 hits. Kill everybody on board, claim it as a prize. I've lost 1 guy. I would probably, at this point, you need to ask yourself, are you going to defend? Yeah. I would leave the majority of the guys on and send 1 guy back on each boat, just for good measure, just to make them think twice about perhaps counterboarding and taking those 3 frigates with another small squad of frigates or something. I've left enough guys on board, so now that he's got to have to send something substantial to try to take it back. Either way, and you might be asking at this point, well, I've done 7 wounds. Wouldn't it be just safer to shoot it? It would, but you're only getting the 170 points. So now let's say, for example, if it was on its last wound but has taken no AP. In fact, we could leave the fire on, and the shredded defenses, because at this point you've rolled quite a few crits on it, and so you would expect something like that to happen. would you board then? You know, I got 9 guys versus his 8. Even without Ack to shoot at him, I'm looking at a number that isn't very safe. I mean, we can roll this out. He's got, there's 8 for him, and of course I need more dice. Let's go 9 for me. All right, there's 4, 7 hits with a couple rerolls. There's 9, 10, 11. Well, actually, it would have paid off. I still wouldn't have done it, but maybe you guys watching online, because look what you've given up. He rolls 6 right there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wow, why don't they roll for me like this in an actual game? 12. So he's killed everybody on board, and so true he lost his battleship. It becomes a derelict at this point, but you don't have anybody claiming it, so it's only, you know, worth its original points. And all your guys are set to counterboard. So, you know, he can come in with, you know, maybe a small squad of frigates. Send like 2 guys over just to survive the ack from each boat. And then send 1 guy back from each guy. I mean, you can play that out too. Let's say he's going there. So then ack. Oh, well. That was bad. See, dead there. The other boat fires. That one's captured. And 2 dead there. So it didn't quite work out. But the counter boarding did capture one of your ships. And, you know, I mean, you're not just going to, like, you can see that boarding is very dangerous. I mean, especially with the exploding dice mechanic. A string of 6s could wipe out your entire crew, which we've seen it happen here. We saw it happen on both sides. So, a lot to consider. For me, if you're playing a game where it's going to end on a certain turn, I would say plan your boarding towards the end. You can get your activation, you know, advantage by other tactics, positioning, shooting, outmaneuvering, that sort of thing. Boarding's fun, but even for, you know, an army that has more AP, it's not a definite, it's not a no-brainer. You got to consider a lot before you do it. And like I said, the guidelines I like to use is, you know, what is your risk? Ask yourself that. What do you gain from the risk? And, you know, how are you going to keep the prize once you get it? You know, because you could have a successful boarding action and have maybe 1 guy left on that ship, and then the guy's just going to take it back. So, a lot to consider. I'd say board towards the end is the correct way to go. Late boarding is the best. Go for the low-hanging fruit, damaged battleships that have virtually no defenses. Take those guys out and score double points. So anyways, that's my spiel on the matter. And comments, suggestions, whatever. Tell me what boarding tactics you use. Put them down there in the comment section. Alright, Eric.